All right, we're going to bring something a little fun today to this review. So, what we're going to be talking about is the new Walther PPK S/S in 22. Now, I say this is the new one because they have made PPKs in 22 before, but of course, those are old vintage models that are not parts compatible with this version, as far as I'm aware. They definitely are made a little bit differently. The frames are certainly different in construction and material type. So this is essentially basically a new gun if you really want to think about it that way. But I really wanted to bring this to y'all because I have a pretty varied shooting experience with the PP series of pistols. I've got a Walther PP that I've done a video on just recently. I've shot, I think, 3 or 4 examples of PPKs and PPKSs in 380. Didn't like them too much. I got a video on that too, actually. And so I really wanted to try a PP series pistol in 22, but I really didn't want to pay the premium that a lot of the older examples certainly go for. So when I saw this was available again, that Walther was making these again, both in this black and stainless steel, and that they also had a threaded barrel, I was like, man, that's awesome. I want to get a hold of that. So yeah, so I got it especially for the threaded barrel because, as you know, with these kinds of pistols, they are pretty difficult to thread, and you have to pay a lot of money and have a good gunsmith that knows what he's doing to really make it turn out well. And then, of course, if you do that on like a vintage old example of PPK in 22 or PP in 22, you're kind of ruining a vintage piece because it's a permanent modification. So I figured for my purposes, for what I wanted to do, something like this was absolutely perfect, where I just wanted the look and feel of a PP pistol, PPK in 22, with a threaded barrel and everything else, but also not have it cost me an arm and a leg and not ruin a vintage model, but still have something that pretty much is 99% of the shooting experience. So I ended up picking this up, and I have to say, holding these in hand, they honestly feel a little chintzy. The slide, of course, has to be lightened versus the regular non-22 pistols because it is a direct blowback. So, of course, the slide needs to be lighter for it to function correctly. So it feels a little cheapish. The way this is set up is very similar to Walther's other 22 offerings, where they have a I'll just show you. They have a sleeve over a very thin pencil barrel that is stuck in a portion of the frame here. So as you can see, there's a visible line there, right? So that's the actual physical barrel itself, and that is the part of the frame sleeve, basically where the barrel inserts into its sleeve. And then the sleeve is kept on by the retention piece here. It's basically like a nut that screws into the actual threads underneath the barrel here to cinch the barrel sleeve together inside this frame, and that's how that works. Very, very common construction method that Walther uses for their 22 pistols. It's exactly the same thing in the Colt Walther 1911-22. It's also the same in the Walther P22 as well. So same technology basically, just now this one is in the shape of a PPK. So they do not give you a thread adapter in the box with the gun, which is a little unfortunate because why advertise you have a threaded barrel if you don't actually give people the adapter? Because even Taurus does that with their TX22s. Taurus gives you a thread adapter, right? So Walther's being a little cheap there, in my opinion, when it comes to that. So this is actually an aftermarket one, I believe, by Gemtech. Tons of companies make these little adapters that fit on the end of the barrels here. That it's that retention nut that slides in. You just take the old one off that's not threaded and put this one on, and now it is threaded. So standard 1/2x28 threads, as you'd expect on a 22. I will say though, depending on the individual characteristics of your pistol and what it likes, be careful with some of these thread adapters because they're not all created equal, and I've had instances where using different thread adapters on my other Walther pistols that are constructed this way, like my P22 and the 1911-22, some of them absolutely do not like certain adapters from certain companies. Like they will be throwing shots and keyholing stuff all over the place, which is pretty scary when you think about using it with the intended host of a threaded barrel, assuming is a suppressor, right? You don't want a misaligned round going through your suppressor and causing baffle strikes and all kinds of nastiness, right? So be very careful with that. Luckily, this one works just fine. Your mileage may vary, of course. So a little disappointed there with Walther on that. The sights are what you'd expect with these Walther 22s. Also cheap, chintzy. They do give you some replacements with different front sight heights that you can replace for that. I will say during my shooting of this, which has been about 1,000 rounds, this rear sight did work its way loose, so I had to tighten that back down again. No big deal. But yes, plastic. Standard fare for Walther 22 pistols. Additionally, it only came with one magazine, and to me, that is especially insulting because these Walther PPK, the new Walther PPK 22 magazines that look just like this, that look very similar to the other 22 magazines they make, also similar to the Smith & Wesson M&P 22, look very similar to this, of course, because they're all made by the same company, Umarex, right? Only comes with one, and these are very, very hard to find, and when you do find them, they're expensive. So luckily for me, my local gun shop just happened to have a spare one sitting around, so now I've got two, but I did pay a pretty penny for them. So very disappointing, because especially with the nature of 22 and how these pistols work with direct blowback and tolerances, variances of ammo, and all the other factors that go into 22 caliber straight blowback reliability in a pistol with a magazine, it is hard to diagnose what potential issues could happen if your magazine is terrible, because if your magazine is terrible, well, now you have to go through the whole process of trying to figure out, is it my ammo? Is it the gun? Is it the spring, the actual recoil spring in the gun itself? Is it my magazine? You have to go through all that process. But if you only have one magazine and the magazine is the fault, I mean, you basically have a gun that's not going to work worth a damn. So I do not like that they only include one magazine. It's a bit cheap, in my opinion. Now, for a kind of bigger gripe, my main gripe with this pistol, this one in particular actually, is that you notice I have some pretty nice wood grips on it, right? These are also from the same folks that I get pretty much all my other wood grips from, Grips for You. And these were not cheap. There was like $100 for these grips, right? And I was going to get these grips anyways, but the reason why I had to get these grips is because the originals that came on this, the black plastic panels, broke before I even got this out to the range. So if you're not aware, this particular model and frame, so it's a PPK/S, you would assume, and in a lot of cases this is true, a PPK/S frame is the same length grip size as a regular size PP pistol. The only thing that was shortened was the barrel and the slide. So I thought, okay, I have spare Walther PP grips lying around. I wonder if I can take off the black plastic ones from this and put on some other PP grips that I have, because essentially it'd be the same size, in theory at least. Well, I didn't know how these were constructed. So when I went to take the the grip screw out here, this is not the original, but let's just assume this is black plastic and the original grip screw. When I went to take that grip screw out, I heard a snap. And I was like, okay, maybe it was just tight. So I unscrewed it, and then when I did, I found out that the grip screw pin had literally snapped in half, and whoever tightened it from the factory put it on way too damn tight. So when I went to unscrew it, I wasn't like wrenching it down really hard. I wasn't having it any kind of weird way or anything like that. Just simple, like holding it basically like this and just, like I've always done with pretty much every other pistol I have. The grip screw just snapped in half, and it snapped in such a way that the left side of the grip screw was stuck in the escutcheon here in the grip. So it was I had no leverage, no ability to remove the broken part of the grip screw out from the grip itself. So the grips were essentially useless. And then what I found out after that too is that the construction underneath the grips here is radically different from everything else. There's nothing else that fits this new model PPK 22. You have to get ones that are very, very specifically made for this exact model. And it even says so, even on Grips for You, that says this, these grips only fit this model, and that's it. And you have to be very careful with that. That is a huge, huge complaint that I have. I know Umarex is not necessarily like, super boutique, bougie brand, but I certainly expected better from Umarex Walther together. Better quality than that, than having my grips freaking fall apart before I even shot the damn pistol, right? Very poor showing. So I decided, okay, well, it's brand new. I bought this at a big box store at a Sportsman's Warehouse, so I thought, okay, all right, should be covered under warranty. So call up the warranty number. I have to call 3 separate times on 3 different days because they never answered their phone. Until finally, I got somebody. And the guy in their line just sounded like he wasn't really bothered to do his job, frankly. It almost seemed like I was annoying him just by calling him, which, to be fair, if you've worked in customer service of any kind, you understand that customers are the worst people on earth. But I am not one of those customers. I said, hey man, this is my pistol, serial number blah. It's covered under warranty, blah. I just registered it, blah. And I'm looking at your parts diagram that was so graciously provided by someone else on your team through an email. Good on them for that. And here is a very specific parts list that I need from you. Is it covered under warranty? Do I need to pay you guys something? How can we make this work? And he seemed very confused. He seemed very, well, maybe you shouldn't have just broken your parts like that. Clearly you are the problem and you put too much torque on that screw. It's not our responsibility that you broke parts. And I said, no. That's not how this works, okay? I was trying to remove the grip screw, not reattach it. He says, well, you really shouldn't be doing that. I don't know why you'd want to do it anyways, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it doesn't matter what my reason is, okay? You, as the customer service agent type there, okay, should probably just do what I'm asking you to do because I'm not coming to you in bad faith. But anyway, he said, yeah, man, well, I guess we can do a one-time, send you the parts out kind of as a courtesy. But anything more than that, we're going to charge you. I'm like, hey, that's fine. As long as you got these parts that I'm asking for. And he said, yeah, man, we got those parts. And I said, okay, cool. Can you read back to me the exact part numbers, okay, that I asked for? Because you didn't seem very confident in your answer there. He's like, yeah, man, I got the parts. I'm like, okay, we'll see about that. So I wait about 2 weeks. I get a bag in the mail. It says from Walther Arms. I was like, sweet. I open it up, and it is completely wrong. It is one grip panel. It's not even 2. It's 1 that has no parts in it. It has the escutcheon for the completely something different. It has a metal pin that doesn't fit anywhere on this pistol. It's not even the parts diagram, and that's it. That's all they sent me. No replacement grip screw, not even 2 grip panels, not even a left and a right panel. They only sent me a right panel with a wrong escutcheon that fits in God knows what, and some metal pin or whatever. I don't know what the hell it is. So they got that wrong from the guy I specifically asked him to read back to me the parts list. This is a very simple request, okay? I wasn't being an asshole to him. I was just, hey, this is what I need. This is what happened. Can you send it to me? That's it. And he seemed very annoyed with that. So not only did he get that wrong, even after I insisted that he, read the parts list to me to make sure it was accurate, when I sent yet another email to Walther support because I'm frankly pissed off at this point, I get no response at all, none. And I said, okay, well, since your person there at whatever customer service department you have doesn't understand how to follow simple instructions for what I ask, I'm going to be sending this pistol back to you, and you're going to fix it. And now it's going to be your problem. And I haven't gotten around to that yet, but that's when my wood grips came in, and it fixed all the problems, right? So other than that snafu, okay, with Walther having frankly terrible customer service and some guy who doesn't seem interested in doing his job, which is a foreign concept to me, and getting my order completely wrong. And, I'm even willing to pay for it, okay? Like, I didn't care if it was covered on a warranty, if it was small parts, like, whatever, dude. Just fix the problem, okay? Aside from all that, the gun itself is actually, it's okay. It's okay. So, how does it shoot? Shooting characteristics, stuff like that. I would say the single action trigger on this is not as good as any other PPK or PP pistol I've fired, but it's certainly not bad. Now, the real killer with this, though, is the ludicrously heavy double action pull. And anyone can tell you about this. You watch other videos about this pistol, and that double action is very heavy. I'm even struggling to do it myself, to be honest. So using this pistol in a double action capacity is pretty much null and void. You probably shouldn't use it. But I'm guessing the double action pull has to be that heavy to reliably set off the hammer and have enough hammer force, spring pressure to ensure reliable ignition of cartridges, right? So I assume that that's part of the design, which is unfortunate, but if that's how it has to be, that's how it has to be. I am a little disappointed in the fact that on the black model anyways, there is no red dot here under the safeties lever here. On other models, or, vintage original models, instead of having an F here, they'll have a red dot. I kind of like the red dot, but it's not here, and then of course for the safe position, there's just an S. So not my favorite, honestly. I will say too, as far as the trigger goes, so this pistol obviously gets very, very dirty due to the nature of being a direct blowback, but especially when you start adding something like a suppressor, okay, right? How cool is that? It creates even more dirtiness, gunk that gets into this action. So I have tried very hard. I've spent a long time taking this thing apart to get all the gunk and things out of this action to make it nice and squeaky clean. I cannot get the chunks of carbon and stuff and gunk that's inside the frame, like all the trigger action and everything else. It gums it up really bad. So unfortunately, the trigger return is very, very weak. So if I, let's see, if I decock it here, maybe I can demonstrate. So I'm holding the trigger back right now, but if I let it go, oh wait, no, I gotta put the safety back up. So if I let it go, it's anemic. Like it's not even all the way forward under its own tension. I have to push it forward, right? Now that's purely because there is a ton of gunk in this thing. When this thing was brand new and squeaky clean, it didn't have that issue at all. So I understand it's just from me shooting it. So I don't necessarily fault it too much, but I do kind of wish it was able to be cleaned maybe just a little bit better. Maybe if the action was a little bit more accessible, but I also understand that the insides of this are pretty much patterned after the original PP design. So I'm not going to fault it too much. I don't expect, Ruger Mark IV performance out of this pistol, right? Especially considering I bought this for basically cool factor as a plinker. I mean, honestly, look at this thing. It's just cool, really getting some big James Bond vibes with this thing, right? Anyway, so the trigger return is not the greatest, and I don't know if this will come through on camera or not, but like even just cocking this thing, you can kind of hear the grit. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear that, but it is so gritty. So, and that's purely because, like I said, blowback design with a suppressor with 22 ammo, especially low quality 22 ammo. Yeah, this thing's going to get real dirty real fast. So I can usually get about 150, 200 rounds before cleaning, before this thing just really, really starts choking up real bad. Failure to eject, failure to fire, failure to feed, all of those things start happening when this thing gets dirty. So a little bit of a bummer there, but like I said, this is purely for cool factor. There's really going to be a time where I need to put more than that many rounds down the range at one time. So I'm not really too concerned about it. Accuracy. So given these very, very obviously minimal sights, anyone who's shot a PPK or PP pistol understands the sight picture they are working with. That's not to say you can't be accurate with this. You absolutely can. The best accuracy I got with this pistol at 25 yards was hovering right around the 3 inches to 3.5 inches, maybe a little bit better than 3 inches if I'm using like really high quality match ammo. But in general, with your usual bulk stuff, I'm getting 3 inches at 25 yards with the suppressor on. So, that's perfectly respectable. Is it as good as my Mark IV? Absolutely not. But this is also not meant for the same thing as a Mark IV. It's obviously way smaller, has no provisions for an optic. It's got itty bitty teeny tiny sights that are kind of hard to see during the daytime because it's black on black, especially with a suppressor down the length. You definitely have the can, in your sight picture. And of course, depending on your particular suppressor in mind, yours may be, shorter, longer, bulkier, smaller, whatever. But you're definitely going to see in your sight picture that suppressor coming up for sure. So It takes some getting used to. It's not the easiest thing in the world to shoot. It doesn't have the best single action trigger. It's not bad, but it's not the best. It's not a target gun by any means, but it is very cool. So I did initially have some issues with reliable ignition, even with nice ammunition. I think that has really more to do just with the grittiness of this and the newness of it, getting it worn in, and all those type of things that go into, like I said, 22 caliber pistol, blowback pistol reliability. Okay, it's not always going to be a guaranteed thing. So, but yeah, overall, with this gun and how it's performed, I've shot pretty much almost all of the rounds through this thing with the suppressor on it. It just looks so dang cool. I love it. Overall, for what I paid and what I bought this for, okay, purely for cool factor and how this thing looks and everything else, I would say it is a okay value. Okay, I wouldn't say it's a great value or even a superb one. You know, but for what it is and for what's available out there, this fills definitely a very, very specific niche that I feel like a lot of people out there are going to enjoy. Because if they really, really want to get their James Bond on, and you don't quite want to spend all that money for like a vintage piece or even a new one in like 380 or something, right? This is certainly a good way to go. It's just I'm so disappointed with, one, the price that they're charging, and two, what you basically get for it, right? Now, obviously, there's not going to be anything else like this, but still, I feel like they could have done a little bit more with it, made it just a little bit nicer, included an additional magazine, made the sights a little better, little things like that. Oh, and of course, not have your grip screws break before you even shoot the freaking gun, okay? And maybe also, too, Walther Arms could improve their, frankly, terrible customer service, okay? If you're going to have people on the phone or people answering the phone, maybe they shouldn't sound like they are frankly annoyed that they have to do their job. Okay, not a good look. Not a good look. I'm disappointed in Walther because people know, my friends, people who know me know, I love my Walther guns. I've been a huge fan of Walther for a long time, but it's very poor, disappointing showing from Walther USA. So I hope this is just a one-off type thing. I hope it's not a consistent trend that they keep doing. My PDP has been working great for me. I haven't had to have any kind of warranty done to it or anything, so good on them. But in the case of this pistol, very disappointing on that customer service and initial parts quality. So, but after having gone through all of that, with these new grips and everything, with extra magazine, a correct thread adapter here, and the suppressor on it, this thing has been a great, very fun little shooter, and it fits that super cool, agent niche that I really, really like, and that's what I got this for. So I would say mission accomplished, right? Especially with a suppressor. I mean, even if you get a fake suppressor or something other crazy muzzle attachment you can fit for half by 28, this thing is still a whole lot of fun. Even if you don't put anything on the muzzle, okay? Still, it's a nice, fun piece. Certainly accurate enough to get your plinking job done or to quietly eliminate whatever target you have in mind. So, yeah, I really do think under different circumstances, if none of that bad stuff happened, I would have a much greater experience with this pistol. And I think in general, honestly, these actually are overall pretty decent pistols. They like I said, they fill a very specific niche, and Walther knows that. So I think at least they're doing a very good job in kind of bringing that PPK 22 accessibility to a modern market. So that way you don't have to go buy $1,200 vintage World War II piece or whatever and go mess it up, right? So I do appreciate that this thing certainly exists. So, but yeah, I thought I'd share that with you guys and kind of give you some not always super glowing reviews about these things, especially Walther's customer service. Disappointing to say the least, but I hope it is an isolated incident and does not repeat in the future. But in the meantime, I will continue having tons of fun with this little piece, especially with a suppressor. Just, man, you just can't understate the cool factor of this and how much fun it is to just go blasting with this thing, desert or whatever. So, yeah, it's a nice setup. So, anyway, I thought I'd bring it to you guys, and hope you like that. And we'll see you next time.